Hersheypark, the sweetest place on earth. Load up on sugar and then ride some insane coasters. This is one of the biggest independent parks in the world, and they sport 14 coasters, some of which are among the best in the country. But let's put that aside, shut up for 5 seconds about painful lap bars, and look at the stats. Which one of these tops the list in height, length, speed, pacing, and prime ride time? Let's find out. These are the coasters of Hersheypark, by the numbers. For those of you who have never seen this series, prime ride time starts when the front car starts picking up speed off the lift hill, and it ends as soon as it hits the final brakes. For launch coasters, the time starts once the launch starts. It's not rocket science. Slow turns and straight track are left in, but that'll just hurt the ride's pacing in the end. So keep in mind, more ride time isn't necessarily a good thing. With the help of Google Maps and the Pythagorean theorem, I also took out the lift hill, station, and final brakes from the length, so the number on the screen will not match the number on RCDB. Let's kick this off with by far the park's shortest coaster. In 14th place with 14 seconds is Coco Cruiser, a Zamperla gravity coaster. It doesn't get much more simple than this. You find this model everywhere. A curved drop, a helix, and a turn back into the station. Of course, this is last in height, speed, and length. And as for pacing, there's actually one coaster worse. With 14 seconds, this offers less than half the ride time of any other coaster on the list. But it's made for kids, and it's their only small-scale family ride. Let the kids have just this one. In 13th place with 30 seconds is Storm Runner, an intimate accelerator coaster. This seems to be the case with every accelerator that we've looked at. It lives way at the bottom of the prime ride list. This is for 2 reasons. One, it's super fast, hitting 75 miles per hour, which is tied for second. Also, it doesn't have a long, complex layout, but it's not really that short. It's up at 6th place in length. With the way this rips through the course, it sits at the top of the pacing list with almost 75 feet per second. That just leaves height, and that awesome 180-foot top hat puts us in 3rd place in the park. In 12th place with 35 seconds is Sidewinder, the Vekoma Boomerang. Here's one of those shuttle coasters where I have to take the track length and double it, just taking out the length of one of the legs of the first lift hill, and this comes in 10th place. I don't know if that makes sense, but if you saw my Kings Island video, I did the same for Invertigo. This was 19 seconds on the forwards part and 16 seconds on the backwards part, so just 35 seconds total, despite the fact that you're on this ride forever thanks to those 2 slow lift hills. It's up at 6 in height and 116.5 feet, 9th in speed and 5th in pacing, not counting the time you're on that second lift. In 11th place with 40 seconds is Fahrenheit, an intimate looper. With 7 inversions, this is a complete ride, but it only ranks 7th in length. Usually, these 7 inversion loopers are some of the longer coasters in the park, but this doesn't waste any time with its elements. It starts with that 121-foot beyond vertical drop, good for 5th, topping out at 58 miles per hour, placing 4th. And to me, this feels like a blitz coaster. The first few elements are big and drawn out, but at the end, it tears through its corkscrews and an airtime hill. It's no surprise to me that it's all the way up at 4th in pacing. In 10th place with 41 seconds is Skyrush, an intimate hyper. After racing to the top with that fast cable lift, Skyrush stays low to the ground with turns and sharp airtime hills. It's second in height and speed, featuring a 200-foot drop and maxing out at 75 miles per hour, but I was very surprised to see it rank 2nd in length. This feels like a short ride to me, and I thought Lightning Racer and maybe even Fahrenheit would beat it, but there it is, up in 2nd place. That being said, nobody should be shocked that it's 3rd in pacing. It ran slow for me last time I was there, so based on the weather and the time of day you ride, you may get a fast ride or a slow ride. In 9th place with 43 seconds is Great Bear, a B&M invert. They really crammed this thing into a small plot, so you got some weird elements. There's a helix after the first drop, and that allows the ride to drop into a narrow space. This is where it goes through the loop, Immelman, and zero-G roll. After the corkscrew, it kinda wraps up and glides back to the station. It does feel like a short ride, and it's 8th in the park in length, but up at 4th in height and speed, and it lands right in the middle at 7th in pacing. In 8th place with 47 seconds is Trailblazer, an Aero mine train. Usually you can rely on some huge chunks of ride time with a mine train, but that isn't the case with Trailblazer. This also only has 1 lift hill, but the big ones have 2. Once you take out the lift, station, pre-lift section, and brakes, you're left with less than 1,000 feet of track, good for 13th. It's also number 11 in height and 12th in speed, and as you can imagine, the pacing isn't good, down in 12th place with just under 21 feet per second. It just kind of meanders around until that final helix. In 7th place with 49 seconds is Wildcat, a GCI Woody. The first GCI is still going 25 years later. I can't really say it's going strong, but it's definitely still open. In every episode, we find a ride that makes sense across the board, and it seems like this time it's Wildcat. 5th in length, 6th in pacing, 7th in speed, 8th in height. It's got an interesting twister layout and a pretty good size. It could just use some retracking. In 6th place with 50 seconds is Super Duper Looper, a Schwarzkopf looper. This was one of the very early looping coasters, opening in 1977, and it's basically the revolution of the East. It starts out with a loop, and then it just wanders around the hollow for about 45 seconds. It's the perfect mild ride for kids to get their first inversion. It may be up at 6th in ride time, but is 10th in height, speed, and yes, pacing, and only one spot better in length in 9th place. This may ride a lot like Revolution, but it's a full 25 seconds shorter with 800 feet less prime ride track, though it does cover track about 2 feet per second faster than Revolution. In 5th place with 52 seconds is Lap Track, a Maurer spinner. This is your typical Maurer spinner, just set inside a giant box and with neon theming. These are a lot of fun on their own, not even taking the wacky visuals into account, and they're some of the more intense spinning coasters out there. But being an indoor coaster, you can't expect a whole lot in terms of stats. It's number 12 in height, and number 11 in speed, length, and pacing. It's one of their few family coasters, and it's one of those where everyone can enjoy it. I did see someone throw up on the ride platform when I rode it, so watch what you eat before you take a spin on Lap Track. In 4th place with 53 seconds is Candemonium, a B&M Hyper. Hershey's newest coaster checks in with a ride time I thought was kinda short. I forgot that when I did this video for the world's B&M Hypers, Candemonium came dead last in ride time, but it took 3rd place in pacing. In its own park, it slides in right ahead of Skyrush for 2nd in pacing, but still about 5.5 feet short of Stormrunner. This is the tallest coaster in the park, 10 feet better than Skyrush, and it's also the fastest, topping Skyrush and Stormrunner by 1 mile per hour. For good measure, Candemonium also grabs the crown for length, having 800 feet more than the 2nd place Skyrush. In 3rd place with 55 seconds is Lightning Racer, a GCI dual-track racing woody. Thunder or lightning, you have the same ride time and stats no matter which side you choose. It feels like a long ride, and nearly a minute of prime ride time backs it up, along with a 4th place finish in length. Aside from that, the rest of the stats are pretty moderate. 6th in speed, 7th in height, and 8th in pacing. I complain about this ride being boring and forceless, and I know this video isn't about my opinions, but it covers ground 2 feet per second slower than Wildcat, and that seems to back me up a little. In 2nd place, with 62 seconds, is Wild Mouse, a Mock Rides Wild Mouse. It seems like in every video, we get one of these slow coasters all the way at the top of the list. And like clockwork, here's Wild Mouse. It may be 2nd in ride time, but it's 2nd to last in height and speed, 3rd to last in length. And remember the one coaster that had worse pacing than Coco Cruiser? Yep, it was Wild Mouse, covering just 16.4 feet per second, about 0.7 feet per second worse than the Kiddie Coaster. It's a family ride, so it's fine. You won't find many traditional family coasters at Hersheypark, so rides like this serve a purpose. In 1st place with 68 seconds is Comet, a PTC wooden coaster. The park's oldest operating coaster also offers up the most ride time, and it's up at 3rd place in length, just 5 feet behind Skyrush. It's got that out and back section to start, then it shoots off down the leg and comes back to really extend the ride time. For a coaster built in 1946, you can't expect it to be really tall or fast, but it holds its own with a 78-foot drop, good for 9th, and 50 miles per hour, tied with Wildcat for 7th. The pacing isn't great, and you can see it in the POV. It's got 3 pretty slow turnarounds, and it doesn't fly over its airtime hills, so it's only 9th place. About 5 feet per second slower than Lightning Racer, but the size of those hills are just right. They deliver some great airtime. So there you have it. These are the coasters of Hersheypark, by the numbers. Let me know if anything here surprised you, or backed up something you already knew. I was a little surprised to see the park's 3 major Intamins all rank in the bottom 5 in ride time, and I probably wouldn't have guessed Comet to clear the rest of the field by 6 seconds. Lightning Racer being down the list in pacing was something I expected, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised when a Mock Rides Wild Mouse has worse pacing than a kid's coaster, but it still gets me every time. So if you have any thoughts on these stats, or the coasters of Hersheypark in general, sound off in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like. That's the best way to show your support for the channel. And if you're new here and love coasters, be sure to sub and check out my playlist for other videos in this format. Also check out my links below for my Discord server, where you can chat with other fans of the channel, and my 2nd channel, where I post copyright-free off-ride footage. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.